Good morning, everybody. Gabe Jenkins back with you. Hope you're having a great day. I know I am. Coming to you from the College and Career Accelerator Program with Ed Advance here in Connecticut. If you don't know about it, please look it up. It's a fantastically exciting program that you should know about. This is going to be the first video that I do about SolidWorks, and I want to set some expectations about what this is and what it isn't. This is going to be a super high level introductory video, excuse me, about SolidWorks. So things like, how do you start a new part? What's the purpose of it? How does it think? Where do you find different features? But it's not going to be an in-depth kind of look at any of the specific features that allow you to really use all the functionality of SolidWorks. Think of it like a super high level guided tour. So for students, say your first day of school and you know your schedule, but you don't know where any classrooms are. Somebody's going to walk you around the building maybe and say, this is the A wing, this is the B wing. There are 3 stories to the building. Here's where the gym is, here's where the nurse's office is, here's where the cafeteria is. That's helpful because it gives you a pretty high level overview of how to just make your way around the building. But it doesn't let you figure out where to turn in your biology homework in 4th period. If you're really paying attention to the tour, you might remember this is where all the science classrooms are, so you can make your way there and then find your science teacher, find the right classroom, and then ask your teacher how to figure out how to turn in your homework. But that's not this video. This video is the super high level guided tour. And my goal is that as you go through the video, you are going to be paying attention enough that you're going to be able to answer questions on it, because I am going to ask you questions periodically about the video. And so if you're one of those people who likes to consume your content on like 2 times speed and speed run it, great, but you might need to speed run it twice if you're going to be able to get the questions right. I know that sometimes we're coming from a background, excuse me, where we spent the first semester learning about AutoCAD, and I just, as a brief moment, I want to compliment you guys. You guys did a great job of learning how to draw 2-dimensional shapes, how to dimension them, how to really kind of build more complex 2-dimensional profiles using all of the normal sketching tools. And I know I had a lot of videos that I provided you guys with, and some of those were useful, and some of them maybe were less useful. And I'm going to try to make these all useful. I'm going to try to incorporate the feedback you gave me. And I'm going to try to make a series of videos that help you start simply, and then over time get to more and more complex shapes. So let's start super high level. What you got here on the screen is the basic SolidWorks background screen, right? It's got kind of really just all of the things you can do, all the things you can do in SolidWorks. Now you might, if I click on home, this home button's right here. If I click on home, I get this screen. I've already just quickly made an isometric camera like the one we just drew the other day in AutoCAD, and I'm going to ask you to do this at some point later as well. You might see a screen like this when you first open up your SolidWorks. Normally what happens when you first open up SolidWorks, it asks you a couple of questions. It asks you, do you want to work in ANSI or ISO dimensions, meaning American National Standards or International Standards? I don't particularly care about that one. It's also going to ask you, do you want to work in inches and pounds, like an imperial system of measurements, or do you want to work in meters and grams, or millimeters and grams, or centimeters and grams, the metric system? Select whichever one you want. I'm going to show you how to navigate between the 2 systems anyway. You might get a screen then that looks more like this, right? So let's talk about this really quickly. SolidWorks is really a software program that is designed to work with engineers and manufacturers and allows you to design complex shapes that are meant to be manufactured. So what you see up here is I just created new, right? That button up there, like every other Microsoft program you've ever worked with, is new, right? And so it gives us the choice of create a new part, create a new assembly, or create a drawing. This is exactly what you're going to be doing if you choose to pursue a career in engineering or manufacturing. These are kind of the most fundamental things you're going to need to think about, right? Like, what are the parts that you're going to be making? Like a physical part. Think about like a wheel or a gear in a machine. Second, how do those machines fit together? If I were going to assemble those things, how do those things fit together? And if I wanted to physically manufacture something and give that call out sheet, a blueprint to a manufacturer and say, this is the part I want, you might need to create a drawing. You will need to create a drawing that shows that manufacturer how to, like, what are all the dimensions of the shape you're trying to make? What does it look like from the top, from the right, from the side, from the top view, front view? If it has section views that you need to create, so it allows you to create drawings. Kind of the most fundamental thing that you're going to be doing in SolidWorks is making parts. In this course, we're going to be making lots of different parts, trying to get more and more complex shapes. And ultimately, by the end of the semester, we are going to be hopefully at the point where you are comfortable taking several parts that you've made and learning how to tell SolidWorks how to join those parts into an assembly. See how they fit together in real life, okay? So very first thing I'm going to do right now is to click part, and it's going to bring me to my home screen again. And now it understands what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a part. So let's talk about the basic navigation buttons here. At the very, very top, there's a home button that we just new. It's got a drop-down menu next to that. If you're going to make a new drawing, make a new assembly, or make a new part. Okay, we're in part. If you want to open something that you've already made, that's the button. If you want to save something that you're working on, know that you can save it as a SolidWorks part. You can save it as a PDF. You can save it as something that you wanted to slice up and make a 3D print with. All of that is in here. If you wanted to just print it, that's where you would find this button here. We're going to come back to the settings button or the options button is actually super important. You know how in AutoCAD, you kind of had to just know all of the commands to, if you wanted to change the units or you wanted to change this aspect of the dimension style or blah, 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 blah. Almost all of those options can be found if I click options, and it brings me to this. So it lets you change almost all of the different kind of settings for SolidWorks. There's two tabs here. There's one that's system options and one that's document properties. System options is kind of like the grand setting that you're going to use for SolidWorks all the time. Like, this is how you want SolidWorks to think about all the kind of things, from like how you want the colors. So how do you want, where do you want things to be stored? Like all of these things, the dimensions you're going to use, etc. If there's one particular shape that you want to make that's going to be different, you can change individual part settings, like document settings, under document properties. So in case you wanted, instead of using ISO settings, you wanted to use ANSI settings, you can click on this, and then for that part that you're making, it will apply ANSI settings, American National Standards Institute settings, right? So that's cool. That's where you will find a lot of the ways to change the basic settings, okay? All right. So now let's talk about what we see otherwise on the screen. You got kind of a navigation menu up here at the top that should look in some ways different, but in some ways kind of similar to what we saw in AutoCAD, right? You see the word sketch here. We sketched in AutoCAD. What you're going to find here are a bunch of the sketching tools that we're going to use a trillion times this semester. All of the things that help you make two-dimensional sketches, right? Two-dimensional profiles. The way SolidWorks thinks about making shapes is it wants you to make two-dimensional shapes, a circle, a rectangle, something more complicated, a polygon, something way more complicated. It wants you to make two-dimensional shapes and then take that two-dimensional shapes and make them three-dimensional. The two-dimensional shapes are going to be controlled, and you're going to make them using all the sketch tools that you should be used to. So there's like the line tool, very similar to the AutoCAD line tool. There's the circle tool. There's the rectangles and squares tool. Something called a slot tool. Polygon, we had that. Arcs, splines, ellipses. All of these things should seem kind of familiar to you from AutoCAD. And one of the cool things about starting with AutoCAD and then moving to SolidWorks is that kind of, I hope, I've trained your brains to be able to take a complex shape, complex two-dimensional shape, figure out how to build it up from simpler components. And SolidWorks works very similarly. The buttons are slightly different. You're going to see today, the first time you use it, it behaves a little differently. The mouse works a little differently. Buttons are in different places. But a lot of the same functionality you found in AutoCAD is all here in SolidWorks. And so if you found it in AutoCAD and it was important to you in AutoCAD, you're going to be able to use it in SolidWorks as well. Okay? So this is all sketching. We'll come back to all this stuff in a second. Okay? If you look over on this part of your screen, you're going to see kind of a navigation bar, right? It's like this is where, as we start to build out more and more complex shapes, all of this blank space down here, you're going to see it's going to start to build up. You're going to start to, as you build up a shape, the history that you went through to make that shape, all the sketches you did, all of the other steps you took to make that shape, it's all going to build up down here. Okay, that's where you're going to see the history of how you developed that complex shape. AutoCAD, only the way we used AutoCAD, we were only focusing on 2 dimensions. The joy, the beauty of SolidWorks is that we're creating shapes that are in 3 dimensions, right? So it allows, the way it also thinks, it allows for, in my mind, the way I think about it, a lot more creativity, and allows you to kind of like explore how to build new shapes in a much more complex environment. So I'm going to hover over some things, and you don't need to worry about these top things for now. Just as a quick aside, SolidWorks is really powerful in the sense that, say you make a 3-dimensional shape and you want to just measure how much it weighs, because you're trying to figure out how much aluminum you need to buy to make that. You can pick if you start to make a shape, you can click on material and it lets you pick any of honestly thousands of different types of steel or carbon or brass or rubber or plastic or glass or anything you can think of that you would make something of. You can specify the material that your shape is going to be made out of, and that's important. All right, so I'm going to hover over this: front plane, top plane, right plane. Now, some of you might want to see something. We'll come back to this in a second, but right here you see an eyeball. The eyeball at this part of your screen, all of this stuff in here lets you change like how you view the thing you're making. I'm just going to really quickly highlight this one button where it says hide or show primary planes. I'm going to click that and just kind of go away from that, right? So the way SolidWorks thinks is on a very high level. It's going to have you go through these steps. 1, select a plane that you want to draw on. 2, open a new sketch. 3, draw that sketch. 4, dimension all the parts of that sketch, whether like how long you want this line to be, what you want this angle to be, all that stuff, okay? And then once you have created the 2-dimensional sketch that you want to then work with, you're going to click OK, and then we're going to start to take that 2-dimensional sketch and make it 3-dimensional. Several videos later on, we're going to show you how to do it. I'm going to quickly do it here, but we're not going to get into any real details here. So the first thing you're going to do, remember I said the first thing you're going to do is you're going to select a plane, and then you're going to make a sketch. Okay? So let's just really quickly, so that we can see some of the other features of this navigation scheme. We're going to try to make something very simple. We're going to make something like we're going to make a little house shape. Okay? And when I think about making a house shape, I think about kind of drawing a square on the ground and building it up from there, right? So just so we're clear, if I hover over something, if I hover over the front plane, you can see it's got a little orange outline around it, right? It's asking me basically, do you want to click on this? Right now I'm just hovering over different planes, right? So the front plane, the top plane, the right plane, we got used to seeing that in our drawing class. We understand what that means now. If I hover over here, it's the same thing, right? So this is basically asking us, do you want to draw, if the front plane, it's like, do you want to draw on like the wall, right? So if you want to draw on something that's upright like this, If you want to draw on the right plane, it's like drawing on the side of the wall, right? And if you want to draw on the top plane, it's like, do you want to put a piece of paper down and you want to draw down? So when I think about making a simple house, I'm going to want to draw kind of on a piece of paper. I'm thinking about putting the foundation on the ground. So if I click right here on top plane, you see this little pop-up group of things shows up. It's got sketch. If I want to hide it, you see an eyeball with a slash through it, meaning I want to hide that. Do I want to zoom into something? This button here is super, super helpful. It looks like an old school joystick from the 1980s. Looks like an Atari joystick. What it really means is that do you want to switch your viewpoint so that you're looking perpendicularly to that plane? Like, do you want to look right at that plane, right? But let's just start here. I picked the top plane. I want to make a sketch on that top plane. When I click this, it's going to automatically make it so that my view is looking perpendicular. It's going to be normal to the top plane. So I'm going to click on this right now. You're going to see some of the stuff on the screen move around a little bit. The front plane and the right plane are going to disappear, and it's going to rotate my viewpoint so that I'm looking right at the top plane. Boom, done. These other things are still here, like the right plane and the top plane, or right plane and the front plane. They're still here, and you can see that with these blue lines. If that gets in your way, you can always just turn that off, and now they're kind of gone, right? They're still there, obviously, in real life, or like in SolidWorks life, but you don't have to see them. So if they're kind of getting distracting for you, you can just ignore them. The last thing I want to show you before I start to draw anything is this button, this little dot right here with the axes, arrows coming out of it. That's your origin. SolidWorks has, in its kind of like thinking about things, it has a kind of a 0, 0, 0 on an XYZ coordinate plane basis. It's got an origin. It's got that point that's the 0. It's like the center where all the different planes join, right? It's an incredibly important point. I have seen students start to just draw randomly in SolidWorks without thinking about where they're really drawn. It becomes incredibly important. I know I tried to stress this to you during AutoCAD, but I'm going to stress it again because it's even more important in a manufacturing context in SolidWorks. Where you draw matters a lot. It can simplify things like mirroring, or it can simplify any of a number of other things about your actual sketching. But then, even maybe more importantly, when it comes time to manufacture this thing in real life, when we use our CNC machines, when we use our 3D printers, it will matter where your drawing is kind of anchored. All right? And so I hope you get in the habit of you see a shape and you think, okay, is this something where my drawing of it is going to be really helped out if I start it like the corner of that shape is anchored someplace like the origin? Sometimes if you're making something that's like circular or spherical or cylindrical, it's going to make it really important if you have that origin be the center of your circle. So instead of having to be the corner of your shape, you might want to have it be the center of your shape because it's going to make everything else easier for you as you build that shape more complexly. All right? But so I'm thinking of a house. Maybe the corner of the house should be there. Maybe the center of the house should be there. I'm just going to say the center of the house. I'm going to make a very symmetrical looking house. And I'm going to have the house, the center of the floor of my house be right there. So I'm in a sketch right now. You can see I'm in a sketch. Whenever I'm ready to finalize my sketch, I'm going to click this button, which means like, okay, if I want to just get rid of it, something screwed up, I don't like it, I can hit the X button. SolidWorks tends to be that every step you take, it lets you kind of figure out if this is the way you like it. And then once you're cool with it, then you're going to click that yes, I like that button, right? I'm going to move on, say like, this is good, move on to the next step. So these two things up here in the right-hand corner, very, very helpful. All right, I'm in a sketch. I'm in my sketch 1. I can see that I'm in my sketch 1 because over here it says sketch 1. That's where I am, right? So I'm going to pick a sketch tool. I'm going to find my sketch tools. You'll see there's all these other things here. For a while, the only things we're really going to use are going to be sketch and features. These two tabs right here are going to make up 99% of what we do for a while, okay? So I'm in the sketch tab, and here are a bunch of sketch tools. I'm going to start just by sketching a rectangle. Drop down menu next to rectangle. Do I want to put the corners here? Do I want to center my rectangle? This is just like AutoCAD in the sense that there's different types of rectangles that you can draw. I'm going to make center rectangle, and I'm going to start my rectangle, click on the center. You can see as soon as I highlight, as soon as I hover over the origin, it kind of gives me a little orange dot that lets me know that I'm kind of like letting SolidWorks know that I want to start and I want the center of my rectangle to be located on the origin. So I click it once, hands are off the mouse, just I can move it around, and I'm just going to make a house. So, you know, this is now very different from AutoCAD. In AutoCAD, we tended to, I mean, if we really wanted to, we could do it differently, but like we were trying to replicate shapes that we knew the dimensions of at the beginning. SolidWorks is freer in the sense that it lets you kind of more creatively just organically draw and then go back and dimension it a little bit after you've done that. So I'm like, okay, doesn't really matter where I click it. But now I've clicked it, and you see a couple of things. As soon as I clicked it, the shape inside the rectangle turned gray. That means that it is a closed two-dimensional profile. Very important. If you're going to start to make anything three-dimensional, SolidWorks needs to know that this is a closed shape. All right, that means that I can extrude it, make it deeper, which we'll show you in a second. But it can't do that with just a line, right? Or it doesn't make sense to it to do it with a line. So as soon as I clicked again, you see that this turned gray. That's very helpful. The other thing you see here is that all these little green boxes showed up. Now, I know that when we were drawing stuff in AutoCAD and we started to add geometric constraints to our drawings, that was kind of a separate step. SolidWorks thinks, like it tries to figure out what you're trying to do, and it's trying to it says, okay, you drew this object like this. What do I think is true about what this designer is trying to do? And so it adds some constraints in automatically. This little green one means that it's got a horizontal line. It means that it thinks that you want this line to be horizontal. It thinks you want this line right here to be vertical, right? And it thinks that all these things right here are coincident, right? So it just added those in automatically. Now you can get rid of them, or you can just look at them as they go and see if that's right. All right, so I got a rectangle. It looks kind of like a square. We don't know if it's a square yet. You will see that all of these lines here are blue. Why is that important? As long as a line is blue, that means that SolidWorks doesn't understand everything it needs to understand about this line or this shape. In this case, it kind of knows where the center point of the rectangle is, but it doesn't know where this line is, or where this line is, how long it is, any of that stuff, right? It thinks it knows that this one's going to be a horizontal line and that one's going to be a vertical line, but it doesn't know anything beyond that. This down here, where it says underdefined, means that there's something about this shape that it doesn't understand yet. Okay, so we need to tell it a little bit more information. So here's what we need to say. We need to tell it how long each of those lines are going to be. So I told you the first step was going to be to select a plane. In this case, we selected top plane. Second step was going to be we're going to start a new sketch. We hit sketch. Third thing was we're going to start to draw our thing. And the fourth thing I said was going to be we're going to dimension it. Okay. So we're still in the sketch. I haven't okayed everything yet, but we're going to add dimensions to it. So I'm going to click on this button here that says Smart Dimension. And like everything else in SolidWorks, when you hover over it, it kind of gives you more information about what that button does. So when I hover over Smart Dimension, it says let you add some dimensions to this. So I'm going to click on it, and now I'm going to move over here. You see that as I highlight a line, it turns orange, and You see here that that there's a little blue little line next to where my cursor is. That just means that I'm about to select this line, right? So if I click once and move up a little bit, and then you'll see that it starts to automatically create that dimension for me, much like AutoCAD did. Click one more time, and it asks me, is this how long you want it to be? Now, you can, the simplest thing to do, it's got this blue whole long thing, like it's crazy long number, right? 125.59183219 millimeters. Okay, I don't, that's a big number. I do not have to, and you will look like a newbie if you delete all of this and like, if you click on where this blue thing is, start to hit delete stuff, you don't need to do all that. What if you just, here's what I hope you get to the point where you're just like, okay, click on it. I want this to be 120 millimeters, okay? You'll see as soon as I did that, this line and this line turned black. That means, because I said this is 120 millimeters from here to here, right? It now knows how far apart these two lines are. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Click this over here and make this 120 as well. I'm just typing in the number 120. Okay. Wow. Okay. Now I got 120 millimeters by 120 millimeters. Keep in mind, I can move this down or up. If I change this, right? Say I don't like 120. Say I want to make it 60. It automatically adjusts it for me. Say I want to be 60 by 60. Great. Now I got a smaller square, right? Right now, you can see that as I'm typing this in, it's typing it in as millimeters, and say I don't want millimeters. I want it to be inches instead. Got a couple of choices. Say instead of 60 millimeters, I want to change this to 10 inches. I can just type in 10 IN and it changes it. Now, the whole system still thinks it's operating with millimeters, so it looks crazy, right? I can go down here and change it to inches. And now, when I look at it, whoa, everything changed. Whoa, I don't know. You can always go back into a sketch and adjust it. Right? It kind of finalized it for me. If I click over here on sketch again, instead of making a new sketch, I can go back to edit the sketch. You can always go back and change things. It's one of the just the beautiful features of SolidWorks. You can always adjust things. Now it says 10 inches. Cool. I don't want it to be 2.36. This is whatever the measurement was in millimeters. If it automatically got converted to inches, I don't want 2.36. I want 10. Okay, so now I got this shape. All right, what did I just do? It's getting bigger and smaller. You will see as you start to mess with it that the zoom features are different in SolidWorks and AutoCAD, and it takes a little while to get used to it. So I was just using the scroll wheel to zoom in or out. You'll see that it moves around too. It's going to zoom in or out based on wherever my cursor is. It's going to zoom in or zoom out as that kind of like perspective focal point. All right, so I got dimensions in here. As soon as like I told you, everything, as soon as you kind of like, yeah, this is exactly how I want it. When it's done, it's going to have me, okay, yes, I like this. I'm going to hit OK. That's the dimensions I want. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, okay? So I got a 10 by 10 square sketch. It's done. Cool. I can either hit OK, or I can start to now work with that sketch to make it 3D. All right. So if that's all I want to do with this, I could just hit OK. You'll see that all the dimensions are gone now. It just shows me in a kind of lighter gray outline what this sketch was, what it looks like. But it's not like those dimensions are gone forever. All I have to do is go back in here, click into if I go back into edit, go back in here, and I can see that my dimensions are still there. Okay? So let's now, instead of just dealing with a two-dimensional shape, because I want to show you what some of these buttons up here do, we're going to very simply make this into a three-dimensional shape. Here's how you do it. We were using the sketch tools, and you'll see all these things. All of these other sketch tools are just like you got used to. Mirror tool, the array tool, right? If you want to move things or copy them, if you want to offset, if you want to trim things, all of this is just like AutoCAD. But I want to go now take this two-dimensional profile and make a feature. I want to make it a three-dimensional feature. Okay? And so there's a couple of basic choices, which we'll get into all this stuff later on. Right now, I'm just going to choose the one that says extruded boss base. I click it, and it takes my two-dimensional profile and it says, oh, you want to make it three-dimensional? Okay, great, cool. Now, it gives me a couple of different ways to do it. It gives me this little gray arrow here. And if I click on it, I can just kind of like go up and down and, oh, great. You can see as I move this gray arrow up and down, on the left side of my screen over here, it's changing how tall that box is going to be. If I move way down here, it makes it a really small box, like 1 inch. If I make it higher, I can make it a bigger box, etc. If I just let go, it goes there. I'm not going to get into all this stuff because it's not relevant yet, but it will be very important. That button there is going to be very important. But say I don't want to like do it by hand. I want to just tell it I want it to be exactly 10 inches tall. If I just type in 10, hit enter, it now has created a box that is 10 by 10 by 10. It's a three-dimensional box, right? Right now it's kind of out of my screen. Quick tip for you. If you hit the F button, oh, let me just say okay. I don't know. Boss, 10 inches, great, done. Okay, if I hit F, F is going to fit everything that I've drawn into my screen of view. All right, so now I have a three-dimensional box. Okay, you'll notice as I hover over things, they turn orange or they get kind of highlighted. Look to the, just look right next to where my cursor is. As I hover over this edge, there's a little blue line next to my cursor. If I hover here, there's like a rectangle next to it. That's what that's saying is, hey, do you want to select this line and do something with that line, or do you want to select this face and do something with that face? All right. But anyway, I got a three-dimensional object. You'll see, as I told you, it's building up that shape over here. It's going to start to show you the steps you've done to create that. If I click over here, it tells me that you made a sketch, and then you use that sketch to change your, to create a three-dimensional shape. Now, before we do anything else, I want to show you some of the view options, right? We got a three-dimensional shape here. We can start to change how we view. Up here, you're going to see a bunch of different buttons that affect how things look in SolidWorks. If you want to zoom to fit, this is the same thing we just did, right? So if I had been like super zoomed out like that and I just want to like, okay, get everything back in the screen, I can click here. It's going to zoom to fit everything in my screen. If I want to just highlight a certain area, I can click this, make a little rectangle, it'll zoom in just so I'm looking at that one thing. If I want to make a section view, I can make a section view. We're not going to get into that yet. Say I've done something crazy and I want to just like go back to what I was just looking at. This lets you go back to the previous view. Okay? Now, I got a shape. The display style. Right now, it's on this type of file that shows me what the object looks like if it's shaded, and it shows me all the edges of the shape. If I want to just do it as a shaded object, it does this, and it kind of makes it so it doesn't highlight all the edges as easily, just like when you're visually looking at it. If I want to see what it looks like just as an outlook, kind of like a without the shading, but still see all the edges, I can click on Hidden Lines Removed. If I click here, it shows me where all the hidden lines, which we know about from our drawing class. So if you want to see where those are, just be able to like kind of click on them, highlight them. Lastly, you got this thing, which is wireframe, which is just showing all of the external edges of this object, right? Useful in some contexts. I'm not going to get into it here. I'm going to go back to the normal one. There's also this other stuff. Do you want to apply a scene, view settings? Do you want to have it be shadows? Do you want to be all these other kind of showed in perspective? I don't you know, I don't, never actually played with cartoon. What is that? I guess it doesn't do anything with a box. All right. We're going to go to real view graphics. That's what I want you to stick on for the most part, but it's up to you. You're going to be able to do what you want to do. I'm going to unclick all of these other things. Okay. And now I'm just back in real view graphics. All right. Let's see. The eyeball here ends up being useful later on. It lets you turn off or turn on things that you're looking at. If you wanted to see the grid in the background, if you wanted to see all of the ways that the different elements of your design, all the geometric constraints, that's here. You're viewing the sketch relations. If you want to see all of the dimensions, you can see all the dimensions or not see them, right? So this is where you're going to find all of the view options, like what things you want turned on or turned off in terms of what you're seeing. The last, but one of the most important buttons here is this one right here, the view orientation button. It lets you choose kind of where your eyeball is when you're looking at this shape. So if you click on it, it gives you all these different options. Do you want to look at it from the top? Do you want to look at it from the side? Do you want to look at it from the bottom or the front? Do you want to look at it normal to a specific face? Like, do you want to look at it perpendicular to a specific face, right? If you want to go here, you can click on any of these little things and it just shows you what it looks like, right? Like, I click on here, it shows, orients the object differently. If I click on the top, it looks at it like this. Last thing what you see is this right here, isometric. A lot of times you're going to want to just be able to like kind of zoom out and see what it looks like from kind of like a normal isometric perspective. So if you click here, it's going to bring you back to that view right there. All right. Lastly, some people played around with this down here. If you wanted to look at it from multiple views at the same time, which kind of makes my brain hurt and it kind of looks, I don't know, it's more complicated, more complex visually. I don't like doing that, but some people do. Anyway, you can make it have multiple viewpoints in the same window. I'm going to go back to my isometric and go there. All right, so we've now talked about, you've selected a plane, you've initiated a new sketch, you've drawn the sketch with the sketching tools, you have then taken that sketch, you've clicked OK to finalize the sketch, and then you have created a three-dimensional shape based on that two-dimensional sketch. And that's how we have our cube right here. We've talked about how to change what you're looking at and how you're viewing it. We've talked about how you can see that shape is being started to be built over here on the left side. We've talked about, that's about it. Let's save. You're going to find you absolutely need to save it. So if you go to the top up here, it will prompt you to save. Like, I think it's every 20 minutes it'll prompt you to save. So if you go to here, let's save this. Let's save this as basic house. Okay. Here, what kind of file do we want to save it at? You're going to see that the most common things, there's a gazillion ways you could save it. The first one on the screen is SolidWorks part. Let's save it as SLDPRT as a SolidWorks part file, but there are obviously, again, there's a number of different things you can. This one ends up being important, an STL file, because we're going to sometimes want to save it as an STL file when we want to print it. So just make a note of that for now, but right now, and you might want to save it as a PDF or something else if you want to take a picture of it and submit that for an assignment. We're going to save it as a SolidWorks part, and you're saving it wherever it's telling you to save it. You're going to maybe want to create your own folder and save it as that. Okay, save it. So now we have, it says basic house up here. That's the file we're working with, and we're good to go. Now, let's make it a house. We got a cube, let's make it a house. So we're going to make one more sketch, turn it into a house, and be done with it at that point. Okay, so before, if we wanted to work on a specific plane, we went over here and we highlighted front. I'm just hovering over these right now. Front, top, or right side plane. I could pick any of those, and a couple, I'm going to do this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick the front plane. You can see the front plane kind of like, let me just show you what it looks like. So the front plane is kind of going right through the center of the shape. And if I made a little triangle that kind of came up from here and then went back down to here, I could then make a little roof that extended this way and that way. So I'm going to do that. I'll show you one more thing a little bit later. So I'm going to click on front plane, and again, selected the plane. Now I'm going to make a sketch. It automatically orients me to so that I'm looking directly at that plane, and I'm drawing on the plane that is right going through the center of my cube. So if I'm going to make a new two-dimensional shape. I'm in the sketch. You can see I'm in the sketch because these two things are open over here. I'm going to use my line tool, and I am going. You know what? I'm gonna hide my planes for now because they're kind of getting in my way. All right. All right. So in here, I got my line tool, and I'm going to click here. Now, you'll see if I hover right over the corner here, it again thinks that I'm trying to make something. It thinks I want to start my line coincident with that edge of my cube. Great, cool. That is what I want to do. Okay. I'm going to make it zoom a little bit. I'm going to draw a line up. I'm going to draw a line down. Click on that corner there. You notice that that the lines are blue, and you notice that it is not gray up in here, right? Right. It's just white still because right now it's just two lines. It's a new sketch. It's not part of my old sketch, so it's a new sketch. If I want to make it a real shape that I can work with and make three-dimensional, I have to close it. You see, as soon as I close it, it turns gray, right? So I can start to make this bigger, smaller. All these lines are blue. You now know what that means. The blue lines mean that there's something about this line that SolidWorks doesn't really understand. It is underdefined, right? So it's underdefined, meaning it doesn't really know what it wants to do. So I need to dimension it now. I can dimension it. I could say I want this line to be 10 inches long. I can say I want it to be 5 inches long. I can say I want it to be whatever I want it to be. But instead of doing that, I'm going to dimension the angle that I want to do. So Smart Dimension kind of works just like AutoCAD dimensioning. If I click on this line and I click on this line, it's going to say, okay, what do you want the angle between those two things? Pretty good guess. My angle was 45.36. Not bad, all right? So I click one more time, click 45, and now it's dimension. Everything is black, meaning that I can work with it, okay? If I click my scroll wheel, actually, let's just do this. Other ways that you can manipulate what you're looking at. I'm going to mess with my arrow keys right now. I'm going to hit the left arrow key, okay? And you can see it's starting to move my shape around. You can see I got a little triangle in the middle of my cube. It's totally two-dimensional, nothing. I can also hit my up and down keys if I wanted to make my shape change that direction, up and down. It kind of helps me see what I'm looking at here, right? And lastly, a very useful tool, although it is frustrating and hard to get used to, if instead of using your scroll wheel to zoom in and zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, if you click the scroll wheel, hold it down, and then move where your mouse is, it lets you kind of control things a little bit more free flow organically. It doesn't always move the way you want it to, and it takes a lot of practice to get used to it. I'm just going to go right back to isometric. Let me look at it like this. So I got my sketch 2 here, different from sketch 1, and I'm going to make this a 3-dimensional kind of roof line, right? I'm going to make it go this way, and I'm going to make it go that way. So quick thing, go to here, features. I'm still in my sketch. So before I closed my sketch, and then I clicked sketch and made it 3-dimensional. But the second way you can do it is if you're in the sketch, you can just take that sketch and make it a feature. So click on features and click on extruded boss base. Now it says a couple of things we're going to note real quick. Blind means that whatever number I put in here, it's just going to make it that long, right? It's not going to care at all about any other shape I've drawn. Sometimes that's great. Over time, we're going to start to think more about design intent, and you're going to have to start thinking several steps ahead when you make more complex shapes. If you know for a fact that this roof is always going to be 10 inches in this direction, no matter what you do at the base of the house, Cool. But you might change the base of the house. And you might want this to always be at the edge of the house, right? You might always want it to end where the house ends. Kind of logical, right? But you might not. In this case, maybe I want it to extend a little bit beyond that. On here, if I click here, actually before I do that, if I just change the direction, like I can do this again. Right now, it's clicked, the drop-down menu here says blind. If I want it to go through everything, it will do that. If I say I want it to just go to the next surface, it's going to think I'm going to go to this next surface, right? If I want to go mid-plane, it means I want it to go in both directions. I want it to go to the left side and to the right side. I want it to go both ways. So I think my house was 10 by 10 by 10. So if I wanted to go to the end of the cube, if I say 5 and hit tab, it's going to show me that. Okay, so it's only going to go 5 in each direction. If I click 6, I can slowly build it out this way, or I can just say 10. Ooh. I'm clicking tab, and it's just showing me what it's going to look like. This looks pretty good. This is about what I want my house to look like. The last thing I want you to notice real quickly is this. This button here says Merge Result. As you create more complex shapes, every time you extrude a new thing, it's going to ask you, do you want this new thing you made to be combined with the shape you already made? Or do you want SolidWorks to think about it as a separate thing that, that is, right now it's touching the thing you already made, but not combined, it's not joined, right? And so if you wanted to think of it different, like a separate thing, you would unclick this. If you wanted to think of it, all of this kind of big shape here as one shape, you would click Merge Result, and it makes it one thing. Okay, cool. I wanted to think of it as separate, so I'm going to unclick it. That looks like what I want it to look like. And you can see that it thinks about it as different things now because it's got a little black line here that shows you that this kind of upper triangular thing is different from here. All right, cool. Almost done with this video. I've shown you how to make a new, how to navigate your way around some basic stuff, how to ultimately start to draw very basic things by selecting a plane, starting a new sketch, drawing the sketch, dimensioning it, and then extruding it, okay, to make it a three-dimensional thing. One last thing, SolidWorks as a whole works by you make one shape, you make it three-dimensional, so you're adding to it, and then you can also cut away different parts of shapes, okay? So the last thing I want to show you really simply is how to just cut a little bit away. As part of that, I want to make a new sketch. You can see that as I'm building this, if I click on this, it shows me that's the first thing you made, was the first boss extrude, right? If I click on this, it shows me the sketch. Unclick it. So that's the first thing I made. Here's the second thing I made, right? And it's going to build out that shape. If I want to just hide, one cool thing, the feature bar over here, if I take this blue line right here and just move it up, it's going to show me what my shape looked like before anything else down here, right? It's not gone, it's just kind of hiding it right now. So if ever you want to just kind of like see what it looked like as you were drawing, where did I go wrong? What's screwed up here? You can take that little blue line and move it up or down. All right, last thing. We're going to cut a door into our house. It's not going to be a real door. It's not going to function. It's just going to be a little fake door, right? All right, and we're going to do that with an extruded cut. We're going to cut a little door out. All right, so last thing is this. I'm going to draw my door over here on this side. And one more thing, I don't always have to make a new sketch on a front plane or a top plane or right plane. If I right click on this face, it's going to ask me, what do I want to do? And so I've got a whole bunch of stuff here. I'm going to make a new sketch, right? So I don't want to edit that sketch. I want to make a new sketch. So I right clicked on this face, make a new sketch. It brings me to this side of the house. So right now I'm not drawing on the front plane, although it's kind of parallel to the front plane. I'm drawing on the right side of the house. And so I'm going to make, well, let's just do something different here. Let's make a hobbit door. It's just like I did with a student the other day. Make a little hobbit door. We're make a circle door, okay? And I'm trying to remember if hobbit doors are half circles or whole circles. Anyway, they're whole circles, but maybe they are. We're gonna make a half circle door, okay? So I'm gonna center my circle that I'm gonna draw on. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. As you see, I hover over it. It's gonna show you, just like we in AutoCAD, you could select it to like highlight midpoints or endpoints or parallel point, like all of that stuff. You can do the same stuff here in SolidWorks. So it thinks I want to start my circle on the midpoint. Sure. So I click it once, draw a little circle. Great. I'm going to go over here in the next step, dimension it, click on my circle, dimension it. I'm going to make that circle, we'll say I want it to be 5. Okay. So it's got a diameter of 5. It shows it automatically. It's now totally black circle or black outline, which means that it's fully defined. It knows everything it needs to know about this line. I can click off a dimension. The dimensions are done. And now with that sketch number 3, I'm going to cut. Okay, I'm going to cut out part of the shape that I just did. So I'm going to go to here to extrude cut. It's going to ask me, do you want to cut it all the way? Do you want to cut it 10? Do you want to cut it to the other side? I mean, say I did. Say I did and I said, okay, cut that shape. If I look at it, you can see it cut all the way through. I'm just kind of moving around here. Say, oh, I don't want to cut all the way through the house. That looks crazy. That's not what the door looks like. So say instead, I'm going to change that. I want to edit that feature. So I can just double click on here, double click, edit feature. I don't want to edit the sketch. I still like the circle, but I don't like the feature. I don't like the cut. And so instead of 10, let's just say I make it 1 inch. Okay. So I change that to 1 and I hit OK. And now you can see it's got like just that cut just now goes 1 inch in. Fit this back to my screen. I'm going to go back to my isometric view. And now I got my little house. All right. Go over here one more time. Hit save. It's going to save my little basic house. And that's about it. So just to review everything that we did in this video, right? We found where the home button was. If we wanted to make a new thing, we clicked here and we went to new. That let us make a new part. If we wanted to open something, we go there. We've saved it a couple of times. If we wanted to undo anything, say we screwed something up and wanted to undo it, there's an undo button just like in AutoCAD. All of the properties of the system and the properties of the document are here. So if I wanted to go change something about how SolidWorks thinks about my drawing, you would do it. Sketch features are all found up in here. We're going to get into all those things in a separate video. If I wanted to take my two-dimensional sketch and make it into a feature, all of those features can be found up here. It's lots of cool stuff. Lots of cool stuff. You can wrap a design around a cylinder. You can mirror your shape so that you can just make one and mirror it to the other side. Fillet your corners like we did fillets in 2 dimensions. You can also fillet in 3 dimensions. You can make polar arrays and linear arrays of like whole 3-dimensional shapes in SolidWorks, not just like a 2-dimensional shape. All that stuff exists under features. Over here, you see that we can select planes and we can see where the origin is. It shows us the history of how we created our shape. Every shape, as you can see, started off as a sketch that we then took that sketch and made a feature with it. Started off with this cube. Then we built the roof line, and then finally we used the extrude cut feature to cut out a little door. So that's basically what we did. Anytime we wanted to change what we were looking at, we went up here, this part of the screen, and that's it. Down here changes the units that we're working in, and that's the big high-level overview. I hope, my real big hope here is that as you start to use SolidWorks, you're going to find that it is in many ways more intuitive than AutoCAD, and certainly more creative and more fun, I think, than AutoCAD. And as the standard for all engineering and manufacturing applications, it is the industry standard software. So the better you get with this software, honestly, the easier time you're going to have either getting a job right out of high school, or if you can go into engineering in college, the easier time you're going to have starting to learn how to design more and more complex shapes for engineering and design in college. Super fun program, and we're going to get really good at it over this semester and next semester as well. All right, so That's it for the first video. As you are about to sign off in this video, remember that there are some questions that I want you to answer, and if you could give me some feedback about how you thought this video went, because as I said, I'm going to try to make these better and better and better as I go. All right. So signing off from the College and Career Accelerator, accelerating your future. This is Gabe Jenkins. Hope you have a great day.